The outlaw had made a vow to himself long ago. Never love, never trust, never let anyone close enough to wound him again. His name was Colt Maddox, and across the frontier his name stirred whispers: bank robber, gunman, loner. Yet few knew the truth that lay beneath the hard edge of his jaw and the steel of his eyes. Long before his face was marked by scars, long before his name became a curse, he had once been a boy who believed in love. A boy who had lost it all in one brutal night when his family was slaughtered, and the woman he loved betrayed him to his enemies. That night, something inside him broke. Colt rode the rest of his life in the shadows. His horse his only companion, his pistol the only voice he trusted. He became a ghost on the prairies, ruthless, feared, untouchable. And he swore he'd never love again. But fate has a way of cornering even the most defiant of men. It was a stormy evening when Colt wandered into the dusty border town of Red Hollow. He'd meant only to buy whiskey, swap a bullet-ridden saddle, and ride back into the wilderness. Instead, he found the town gathered in the square, lanterns lit, voices harsh. On the stage stood a woman. She was silent, her head bowed, her wrists bound loosely in rope. A thin veil hid her face, though the tattered hem of her wedding dress told enough of her story. She wasn't wanted. She wasn't chosen, and now she was being sold like livestock. The auctioneer barked into the restless crowd. Bride here, quiet as a shadow. Won't complain, won't bite. Who'll take her? $1, 50 cents, anything? The crowd laughed. She looks cursed. Not worth feedin'. Better leave her for the coyotes. But she said nothing. Not one tear, not one plea. Her silence cut sharper than any scream. Colt leaned in the doorway of the saloon, whiskey untouched in his hand. His jaw clenched. He didn't know why, but something about her stillness, the way she endured the ridicule without bending, struck something deep inside the walls he had built. The auctioneer grew impatient. Come on, folks. Somebody claim her. Don't tell me she's not even worth a dime. The silence stretched. The laughter grew, and then Colt's voice cut through the night. I'll take her. The words came before he even thought them. The crowd twisted, shocked. Murmurs rippled. The outlaw? Colt Maddox, the cursed rider wanting a bride? The auctioneer blinked. You sure, Maddox? She ain't much to look at, and she don't speak a word. Colt tossed a silver coin. It hit the wood with a sharp clink. His gaze never wavered. She's mine. The crowd erupted in cruel laughter. Figures! A broken bride for a broken man. Colt ignored them, striding forward, his spurs jingling low. He cut the rope from her wrists with one clean slice of his knife. She flinched at his touch, but he only lowered his voice, rough yet steady. You're free now. Her eyes lifted just once, meeting his. They were wide, uncertain, yet deep with a quiet strength. Colt felt something he hadn't in years, his chest tightening, not from rage, but from something dangerously close to hope. He placed his black coat over her shoulders, shielding her from the cold and from the stares of the mocking crowd. Without another word, he led her to his horse. She followed, silent as ever, but when he helped her mount, she didn't resist. The crowd shouted behind them, but Colt didn't turn. He never looked back. They rode out under the storm-torn sky, the prairie stretching endlessly before them. Hours passed in silence, broken only by the wind. At last, they reached his hideout, a cabin hidden deep in the canyon, lit only by the glow of a dying fire. Inside, Colt poured her water, pushed bread toward her, and sat across the table. His scarred face was unreadable, but his voice softened for the first time in years. You don't have to speak, not till you want to. But you're safe here. Days turned to weeks. She cooked quietly, tended the fire, mended his torn shirts. She never asked about his scars, never questioned his long absences. At night, Colt would sit by the fire cleaning his revolver, while she sewed in silence. Slowly, the silence between them became something else. Not empty, but comforting. One evening, the storm outside howled louder than before. Colt returned late, wounded by a stray bullet from a skirmish on the trail. He stumbled bleeding into the cabin. Panic flared in her eyes, but for the first time she spoke. Sit down. Her voice was soft, shaky, but it cut through Colt's hardened soul like sunlight breaking clouds. He obeyed. She tore strips of cloth, pressed them to his wound, her hands trembling yet determined. When she touched him, something broke inside him. Not like before, not in anger, but in surrender. You don't have to. he rasped. Her eyes met his, steady for the first time. You're worth it. The outlaw who swore he'd never love felt the vow crumble in that moment. The silence that had once caged him now freed him because she filled it with something else. Trust. Weeks turned to months. The town whispered of Colt Maddox, the cursed outlaw now living with a bride. Some laughed, some feared him more. But Colt didn't care. In the quiet of his cabin, as he watched her smile faintly by the fire, he knew he had found what he thought he'd lost forever. He hadn't chosen love. Love had chosen him, in the form of a silent bride who healed the outlaw's broken vow.